Alright, what's good, keepers? So, in this episode, we are doing supports, pure supports, and this is the most important role in a Bravery master run, permadeath run. You could almost call these the carries of the team. They are physically the people that carry the team through the game, but they do no damage, so they are ultimately supports. So I'll just show you real quick the list of what the supports are. We're gonna do them in order of how you encounter them in the base game, and looking at these, you'll probably think like, hang on a minute, some of these are damage dealers. Yeah, so how I'm defining support is if they have access to shield, because of how everything's randomized, if you roll one of these as your starting three, you're almost always just gonna designate it as your support option just because of how few monsters there are that get one shield or two some other ways of being a support. Some of these aren't great supports, but all of these are supports one way or another. So to start, we have Magma Pillar. So Magma Pillar in the early game, his damaging moves really don't matter. He's got shield. And he does have Mana Shield Copy Shield. Not that that particularly matters in the late game, but it can matter in the end game, just to kind of weave an attack in while still applying shields to everybody. He gets Empower, which is cool. It doesn't matter early, but it's really good later on. So yeah, I mean, it's really simple. In the early game, he's spamming shield, and when he can click his buff, he clicks his buff, sustain, gets extra health regen with improved regen. Cool. And then, unfortunately, in the early game, he can only apply one stack of burn. So, whatever. I mean, he's still shielding and he's still applying. Or no, he's not actually applying burn unless he fits an attack in. But whatever. And then in the mid game, he gets Sheltered to reduce his damage even more. I run Light Instinct on this thing. The other one is Assault Shield, but Assault Shield is really only for damage dealers. This monster is not a damage dealer. He is a combo stacker and a burn applier and a shielder. So he's a support. And he gets Fire Shield. Fire Shield is so good, plus Fiery Gland, so he can stack 2 stacks of burn, which is cool. And then he gets Meditation in the mid game. So Meditation is really good because every time he clicks shield, which is what he's mostly doing, or buff, he gets 6 charge stacks. And in a long fight, or in a fight where just you're dealing with a bunch of shielding or healing monsters, he can get up to so many charge stacks, which is why you can click the neutral move when he gets to the point where it's time for him to move last in the turn order and for him to do the most amount of damage. Or generally, I don't know why I have Ignite skilled here. Generally, I run Fireball Storm on him because it does a lot more damage than Ignite. And when he's going last, the amount of hits don't necessarily matter. You want damage, right? So Fireball Storm does 60, like in the mid game it does 400% damage. It does 50% more damage than the neutral attack. So he can do a lot of damage if he starts getting up above like 50 charge stacks or whatever. It's not often. Usually he's just doing his job, which is spamming shield and staying alive. His defense is good enough. I mean, his staying power is incredible. So he's really good. This monster does incredible every single time that, like, really in any format. I'm tempted to put him in S tier just because of how simple and effective that is. But we'll put him in A tier for right now. We might change it based on how good some of these other ones are. Nah, we'll put him in S tier. He's S tier for sure. Just having a high defense stat and then being able to apply big shields. Plus, he gets like Burning Desire, which is kind of cool. It's actually a pretty good amount of extra shield. So his role is Yaoi is in here. I don't actually know where to apply. He's probably a utility, but usually this monster sucks, by the way. Like he's spamming heal wave, but he's not getting rid of debuffs. He can get rid of whatever harmful stacks in the mid game. But the early game he's pretty much doing nothing. He gets channel though. Channel alone is like incredible. So like you have him as a second slot support. He clicks channel, he clicks life wave. You stack HP on him because he gets supply for the healing thingy. He can like generate healing and he can generate like some shield. He gets protect. He gets icy skin, which is kind of cool. He gets taunt, which I would never take taunt. I've already explained why in the past video. And then in the mid game he does get congeal. Congeal, yeah, I don't really understand congeal. When it's on like a weak monster like this, congeal does a lot of damage. I'm not sure how the damage is calculated, whether it's based off of who applies it or whether who has congeal aura. So like if you have a strong congeal monster, it's great. But on Yaoi, it's not as effective. But it's still congeal, so it's still extra damage. It's still worth having. Like he passively applies chill from icy skin, and then passively congeals them in the mid game, and that's pretty much his role. He's just clicking like helping hand for single target healing, or life wave for multi-target healing, channel, and then if he gets to attack, he's probably clicking multi-target Ice Storm for plus all of his health procs for extra lines for chill stacks, right? This skill setup is terribly wrong. You can build him crit because he's got like critical healing and stuff. Critical healing, critical boon to apply buffs. But you're just missing out. Like when you build him crit wise, I suppose you could stack health and some crit and grab these two skills. But usually I don't even build this tree up much. I get like mana upkeep and that's it. But you could build him crit and then go critical healing, critical boon. And he can put some buffs on some team members, which is nice. So as a healing support, oh, we'll check what his thingies are. So I already talked about Magma Pillar. I think Light Instinct is the better one, 15% damage reduction. And for Yaoi, overheal, which is pretty rare because healing happens after damage. It's rare that you're overhealing monsters. Although I suppose with critical healing you could. But I prefer this because it's more health, like way more health. Eternal Heart, it gives him more health, more mana by 12%. Plus it gives him additional base health, which improves his healing. So I generally just take Eternal Heart. He's not there to do damage. He's there to heal and apply chill. So he doesn't get multi-chill though, which would make this monster considerably better. So, as far as where he goes, honestly, I'll probably slot him. Looking at some of these other monsters, I'm gonna put him in C tier right now, and we'll see if he stays there. Because he can't get rid of debuffs, so yeah. Steam Golem. Well, this monster is incredible. This monster is so silly good. So he gets shield from the beginning, great. Protected offense from the beginning, awesome. Preparation, which can be nice, like whatever. And then he gets like copy shield, so it just improves his shield by 20%. On the others, his defense is so high, and he gets light instinct as a. The other one is relentless, which reduces the cost of the mana cost of all of his abilities. And as you can see, the weakest part of this monster is his mana, but light instinct gives him 3 bars of mana, whereas relentless, it might give him like 1 bar of mana. So as far as like, I don't know, you build defensive mana on this guy and he doesn't have mana issues usually. And then for a buff, he gets Shroud, which is great defensively for everybody, for the team. He's really not ever attacking up in like in the early game. He gets multi-burn, which is cool, because not that he can apply burns very well until the mid game when he gets fire shield, but when you pair him with someone that can apply burns well, like Lion, let's say you roll Lion as your spectral familiar, and then you get Steam Golem as like a supporting option, that's a great team right there. That is fantastic. Double weak to win though, which might be a problem, but this guy's shields get so big that it's pretty rare for the shields to disappear. Like, this guy is probably the best shielding monster in the game because his defense is like 10. And then on top of that, he's got great bulk, so if he gets targeted, he's not going down. A lot of the problem with support monsters is like, sometimes they go down first, and then your run's just over because you have no supports. This guy's hard to bring down. And that's about it. And then in the mid game, he gets Cleanse, which is cool. Not that you're really ever going to be attacking. And then he gets Observe, which is most of what he's doing. So he's just applying more shield every time he shields. Mana burn for some. This is the late game, so it doesn't really matter. But fuel, I mean, yeah, it doesn't really matter. Like, none of these are make or break. Besides maybe like load up. Load up and fuel are probably his best late game abilities when you get there, which with this monster you probably will get to the late game. And then fire shield level 2, and he's just clicking fire shield. If you're utilizing like the cleanse ability and he's weaving an attack in, it's usually because when your support is attacking, it's usually because you've already won that battle, or because like in Magnum Pillar's case, he's got so many charge stacks that you kind of have to weave an attack in just to optimize the amount of damage that can be done. But it's a bit of a gamble because you're losing a shield for that turn. So yeah, I mean, this guy is straight up S tier. And if we're placing him in front, this guy is like in front. This guy is like the SS tier right now. If I bothered to make that, which I didn't. But I probably should have, because Steam Golem is... he's one of the best supports, maybe. Possibly. Similar to Steam Golem is Frosty, but instead of fire shielding, you have like a ice shielding, which applies chill, which doesn't do damage because this monster doesn't get congeal, but this monster gets multi-chill, and he gets like he gets channel sort of. He gets barrier, but then it starts adding channel as you progress, which is incredible. But he gets just shielding. So you're just spamming shielding. Again, this monster performs really well with a monster that can apply chill, because then you can just multi-chill them and you just limit monsters' abilities to play the game, to like hit you, to fight you, because they just have no mana. So yeah, protected offense, great, and then he gets Ice Shield, and I mean this monster's just spamming Ice Shield, and he maybe clicking a buff if it can be allowed, and maybe clicking shield. He does have copy shield, mana shield, so you know, like he can apply shields by attacking, which is cool. It can be cool in the late game, because sometimes you don't need to put a shield up. You can just attack and passively apply shields, which is cool. Does he get... He does not... Oh, he gets... this is late game, but barricade. Every shield that he applies, it can apply barrier, but he doesn't get multi-barrier, so you'd rather just click the buff and probably not even get this. Not scale this with your like 530 skill points after level 30 before the game's over. So is he as good as the other ones? Probably. Yeah, I mean, he's a shielding monster. He's got high defense, 4 shielding. Like his defense is 8. He's got buff mastery, which doesn't really use buff mastery that well. But let's see what his other shift is. I'm pretty sure it's Dark Instinct, which is useless. Yeah, so it's Dark Instinct, so it's for doing damage, and that is usually not this guy's job. Like, if you roll, like, 3 support, or I guess that's impossible, like, if you roll, like Steam Golem, Frosty, and, like, the Wolf, then that would actually be a good combo, because he could go second or third in slot, and also you'd have 2 shielders, and one of the shielders can be a damage dealer, which is cool. Rocky. So Rocky is sort of in the iffy. He could be utility. He could be utility, sort of, maybe. I'm not sure, but just having like access to Mass Restore plus channel automatically sort of sits someone in the support role for me, just because most of the time he's going to be like your second slot. He's going to spam Mass Restore when necessary. Although if you're with a shielder and the shields haven't been broken yet, you might be just spamming weaknesses for the weakness. And he also has cleanse too, so he has the ability to cleanse buffs off of monsters, which is incredible. It's not really something we've come across yet. At least none of the spectral familiars have cleanse. Cleanse is crucial. It's so good. But mainly his role is like spam like buffs and heals, and in the mid game he gets aging, he gets primal rage, and he gets meditation and multi-weakness, which are all fantastic. Like, these passives are all so good for a monster like this who's just gonna spam heal, and then once he starts getting in like the 30 plus charge stacks, he clicks a move and he does a bunch of damage. Now, he's not a shielder, right? So unfortunately, shielders are just better versions of supports than healers, although debuff removers are fantastic. And this guy does do a lot of damage once you get to the mid game, like halfway through the mid game, because you need the skill points to put in there. But yeah, he's good. He's good. So the Glowfly is next. Yeah, so what does this monster do? Yeah, not a whole lot. I mean, his damage is not good enough for him to even be considered a carry, right? And he doesn't have things like cleanse. So really, if you're ever using offensive moves, it's to apply debuffs. Which he doesn't even really get until the late game, so that's irrelevant. Yeah, I mean, he's not great. So really, he's spamming this tree right here. Heal, like, restore, right? Restore plus bolster. He's putting two debuffs on two buffs on one of your teammates, removing debuffs while doing so, which is good. And then he gets healing echo, which means he's healing another monster, which I'm pretty sure that also applies bolster. Now, bolster's not until the mid game, so in the early game he's just healing and getting rid of debuffs. He's got overcast. Overcast is pretty good for healing. He's got dodge, which is like okay. It's giving him 8% effective extra health, which is not great on a health pool like this. It's pretty bad. Doesn't have shielding. He's got protected offense, and he's got mana shield, and I think he gets copy shield. Oh, he doesn't get copy shield. So, I mean, whatever. Protected offense is still a good aura to get. But yeah, like this guy, I almost should have put him in utility. He really has no supporting capabilities other than buffing. He's got buff mastery, and he's got healing. Plus, in the mid game, every time he heals, he's bolstering. Plus, I think auto heal also counts as a healing action. So when he attacks with auto heal, he's applying a debuff, two buffs on whichever monster got healed, which is nice. But like aside from that, he's doing nothing. His shifted skills are buff mastery, and the other one is like mana conflux, which is useless. It's garbage on this guy. So yeah, he's not good. He might be D tier. Although as a utility, he's pretty okay. So I might repeat him in the utility episode just because I think he's not getting enough. He's not really shining enough in comparison to all of these monsters, which are the best role, which hold the best role in the game. He doesn't really get to hold the best role in the game. He's more of a utility monster. So that's my bad. I thought he was a support. He's really not, now that I'm talking about it. Goblin Brute is next. This monster is pretty good. Like, he's pretty good. So, pretty much, for his tree, you're really never clicking buff, although the chances of you getting a goblin party are so small. But it's not impossible. But if you were to like roll 3 goblins, oh my god, they perform so well. That's never happened to me, but I have done a goblin party run, and they get pretty far before you lose. Most of them are weak to physical, which isn't great. Like, being weak to physical and strong to magic is sort of like, I don't know. I mean, this guy's defense is so high that he takes physical hits pretty well. It's more so for the other goblins, which aren't in here, so it doesn't matter. So what is he doing? He's spamming shield, and that is pretty much it. And when he does attack, I would tend to not take Toxic Slam. I would more so take Beating because it does the same amount of damage, but it does 2 extra hits, which gives you an extra 10% on the next monster who attacks because you're getting 2 extra hits towards your combo, which is pretty good. Multi-regen, fantastic. He gets Reflect, which is actually freaking good. So all these weird skills where it's like, oh, reflect damage back to the attacker. So it's 20% in Keeper battles, but in Keeper battles, they're like, in Master difficulty, Keeper battles are actually properly balanced. So like, they're not using, like, you're not gonna walk into a level 14 Keeper battle and they're gonna start using level 30 plus skills on you. That doesn't happen. They are actually balanced around your level. So Keeper battles aren't nearly as threatening on Master difficulty. On Wild encounters though, this is pretty good. Reflecting 40% of the damage they do to you is a lot of damage because they will hit you, take out your entire shield, which is like a lot. Like, again, I don't know how much value the shields are, it doesn't say. But then you look at their HP and how much damage they took, and they have like 2 times the amount of health as you, starting from like level 15 plus. So when they chunk themselves by hitting you for 25% of their health, yeah, it's a great skill. It's a fantastic skill. And then Protect is a weird one because I'm not a huge fan of Protect. Like, for him it doesn't matter because he's only ever gonna spam shield. But Protect is like a weird skill that it's probably really good in PvP. But in like not PvP, when you're just doing a playthrough and you're dealing with the AI, it's sort of sometimes can be a waste of an action, and sometimes I don't know. I would rather just click shield, whatever. Plus, it doesn't shield anyone else; it only shields yourself. So, I don't know. Now he does get combo shielding. So this guy's shielding is crazy. His defense is super high, and he gets double combo shielding. Triple combo shielding at the mid game point. He gets sheltered, and then his shifts are equipment mastery, which I think is better, or dual wield. And if you get to the late game, this is a case of like, once you get this passive right here, which should be probably the first thing you take when you get to level 30, which is like so stupid, you will probably want to switch to dual wield then, because then suddenly this monster's gaining 300 attack from a wooden stick, 60 defense, which isn't that high, but he's shielding all allies for 600 at the start of combat. And then if you switch to dual wield and you put a level 5 large shield on him, then his defense is astronomical, his attack is astronomical, and he's shielding everyone for 600 at the start of combat. So then you can start to like maybe not have to use shield as much, and you could probably start weaving attacks in to get more combo going. Yeah, this monster is dead good all throughout. I mean, he's a little simple, and then at level 30 he becomes really good, but we're not super concerned about level 30. Obviously in a goblin party he's S tier, he's like double S tier, but the chances of that happening are so slim that he's just A tier, which is good. I mean, that's pretty good. So yeah, where are we? We are on now Caraglow. So this monster is really unfortunate. If somebody somebody said, like, if somebody walked up to me in public and said, "Hey, do you play Monster Sanctuary?" And I'm like, "Yeah, I've played it." And they said, "Do you think that, or can I tell you who the best monster is?" And I'll say, "Sure." And then they go, "I think Caraglow is the best monster in the entire game." Honestly, I would not disagree with them. It's pretty hard to argue with that because, well, let's find out why. So immediately you're going to be stacking crit chance on this thing. It gets early evasion, which essentially, if you get to like 40% crit chance, 40 to 50, you're adding, 8 to 10% effective health onto this monster, which is not bad. Now this monster is a monster who gets heal charging, and so did the Toad, and I was ragging on it for the Toad because I made it seem like it was a bad ability, but this is a really good ability, especially on a monster like this. This monster literally does nothing except heal. So heal doesn't matter, as I've said before. But this monster gets Restore. Restore is so good for just upkeeping monsters and keeping them healthy so that they can continue fighting, while also giving them charge stacks. So you're like, let's say in the early game, you're giving them 5 charge stacks and removing 3 debuffs, which is crazy. And then in the mid game, 6 charge stack and then 7. You're removing 4 debuffs, which is crazy. He gets like, but whatever. So it's like, oh, okay. So all he does is heal. Why does that matter? Well, one, he gets Mentor. So every time he uses a heal, which is all he really has, a single target heal, which is all he has, on an ally, they get 2 random buffs. So right there, boom, sick. And in the early game, he gets critical boon and critical healing. So in the previous episode, I talked about how powerful critical boon and critical mass are at just passively stacking buffs without actually having to use buff actions. Incredibly powerful mechanic for just gaining momentum in a fight. And critical healing allows him all of his crit chance and crit damage to apply to his heals. And they trigger crit-based skills. Critical Boon is a crit-based skill, so he can spam Restore on a monster. This effectively makes it so he can just click Heal, a healing skill, on a full health monster, and it still has value. Because he's getting 6 heals, so at, let's say he's got like between 40 and 50% crit chance. So that's like quick maths. That's like 5 times, like, you're getting like, let's say 3 guaranteed. So you're getting like 1 or 2 guaranteed buffs on another monster every time you click a heal action. Plus Mentor, which is a guaranteed 3 random buffs on whichever monster you're using. Plus Critical Mass, which is guaranteed buffs on himself. And he gets Healing Link, which just makes it so he can heal himself whenever he's healing a monster. And this is all early game. Like, oh, well, I guess Mentor isn't, but like, just in early game, he's just buff stacking while removing debuffs. Plus Empower, like, it's just incredible. And then mid game is when he really takes off, because he gets access to Helping Hand. So when you open a fight, you can just Helping Hand a monster. You're giving it 2 random buffs, plus Sidekick, plus whatever critical boon might give them, plus whatever critical mass is giving the cat herself. And suddenly, and then your next monster is attacking and they have like 6 buffs on them. And they were full health. You were healing them at full health, but it doesn't matter because they have 6 buffs now. This monster is incredible, but as far as typing goes, it's not great. It's strong to earth, weak to water. This monster tends to die, despite how crucial it is. I don't understand the AI sometimes, but whenever this monster is in your party, they just target this monster. This monster is probably the highest chance of getting like double or triple target. The AI is pretty clever in the sense that they will target the supports, like the monsters that are actually the most important. And this monster is, without a doubt, usually the most important monster on your team of 3. The only reason it's not going in S tier is because because you're building it crit, because you kind of have to in order to make use of most of its kit as far as applying buffs. You're lacking a lot of HP and defense or mana, and you do need mana to some extent. So this monster will die. I don't think I've ever kept this monster alive until the end. It is always something I immediately put in my team because of how good it is. But I have to put it in A tier because it is difficult to keep alive. I don't know, maybe 40 to 50 is a bit high in the crit. Maybe you want to go like 20 to 30 and have more bulk, but I don't know. I like just generating more crits with every time it heals, and you're getting more buffs. So that's Karaglow. Kami. Now, Kami is an example of a monster like, wait a minute, this monster does big damage. Look at his skills. Yeah, he does. But he also gets access to the shield tree, which somehow I don't have connected. I don't know why. I don't know why I have protect here. But probably because this was like my first save file, and I thought I built him as just a damage dealer, and he was never clicking shield anyways. But having shield plus protected offense in the early game plus spiky defense, which means he can apply armor break, which is pretty good. Armor break is something I used to think was not good, just because of how, like, what it does is it applies I'll show you. So you ignore 25% of their defense damage reduction, but I think it also doesn't account for so it reduces damage by 25%, but by the way, because of the way diminishing returns work on all damage reduction effects, is that really what it's doing is it's applying, like, depending on how high their defense is, it's probably reducing it by like 10 to 15 on a monster with high defense, and then like 15 to 20 on a monster with like mid to lower defense, which is still pretty good. It's a lot of extra damage. Yeah, so how does this monster function? Well, as a support, he's clicking shield, he's generating charge stacks on himself with revenge, maybe he's applying armor break every now and again, and then he's got like a bunch of auras which are cool, like multi-might can be nice on like a physical monster and stuff. But really, this monster has Utopia, so his other shift ability is blacksmithing, which is, I guess, okay. I mean, it gives a lot of extra stats to monsters, and like adding 3 charge stacks per turn to every monster is probably not as good. But well, let's look at it, because I think there's a reason why I think Utopia is better than blacksmithing, but let's see. So, alright, so blacksmithing gives him like more damage. So this gives him a little bit more health, just more bulk and more mana, which I think is the more important stat than damage. And if you're building him as a support, you're not super worried about his damage. So yeah, I like Utopia, and like this monster just generates charge stacks on himself, and then he's got sheltered, and then he has is it meditation or something? No, I guess he gets load up, but that's not until the end game, so we don't really care. So like in the early game, he's just clicking shield, and then from Utopia, when he gets like 20 or more charge stacks, you could maybe have him go last in the turn order, and then he just hits him with a heavy punch, does a bunch of damage. Cool. This is cool. This is a great. Oh, this is probably why I have Utopia on him. Whenever a monster gains a charge stack, they get a 5% chance to gain might, agility, or sidekick, and it's 5% chance times 3 times per turn, which is pretty good. I mean, like, that's pretty good. You're getting 3 charge stacks on every monster. So one of those monsters is guaranteed to get one of these buffs every turn. Which is cool. But that's mid-game. So, I mean, like, he's kind of a weak support. He's mostly, like, you want this monster to be a damage dealer. But he does get access to shield, which, because it's like it's the most important and least accessible skill in the game by most monsters, that automatically makes him a support. Now, is he a great one? Kind of. I mean, adding charge stacks to everybody is cool, but I mean, shielding automatically puts him above most other healing monsters, so we'll put him even with Rocky, just because shielding is better than healing, but Rocky has debuff removals, so it's probably better than the Kami. Yeah, some people pronounce his name a different way. I do not prefer saying Kame. I'm pretty sure this guy's name is Kami because of Kamehameha. And what does this monster do? He literally just throws punches. So I think it's short for Kamehameha. Yeah, okay, so the next one is, I guess we'll do Targo because I have them out of order on the tier list. So we'll just do Targo real quick. Targo is fantastic. He's weak to magic, but then he's strong to water and fire, which is kind of weird because it means, like, what are his actual weaknesses? Magical, earth, neutral, and wind, which is very good. That's a great typing right there, in my opinion. He gets shield, which is great. He gets early load up, which is cool. Copy shield, cool. So every time he's using shield in the early game, he's applying 2 charge stacks on everyone. Fantastic. And then he's really not going to be doing damage. Like, he's almost never hitting an attack. But if he is using tackle, it's because the fight's probably won. He gets revenge. Fantastic. Revenge early game. And I will explain why that is so good on this monster. He gets meditation. Cool. He just generates so many charge stacks passively. Protector, great. Protected offense, fantastic. Charge amplifier, fantastic. But it's like, hang on a minute. Aren't most of these charge stacks only applying to himself? No. And the reason is because his light shifted ability is leadership. Whenever this monster gets a charge stack, he shares it with another monster in the party. This is so good on a monster like this with this skill set. It just means like if you happen to like get this monster in your party and you have a monster that like really benefits from charge stacks, like a charged up monster, like if you have Target, you could actually run your Eagle as a charged up as the charged up shift, not the dual wield shift, which like it is better. It's just the Eagle has difficulty generating charge stacks by itself, but if you have Targa in the party, suddenly the Eagle becomes really good with charged up. And there's a lot of monsters that benefit from charged up, from charges in different ways. But this monster is probably the single best supporting monster to share and apply charge stacks on everybody. So and he's getting all of these by mid game. And then late game, it doesn't even matter. Like his late game tree is not great, but we're not as worried about late game. Most of his power budget is in early and mid game, which is fantastic. Charge amplifier is so good. This monster is incredible. He does extremely well every time. It is no surprise that he is probably going above Magma Pillar and before Steam Golem, I would say. So as of right now, he is sitting as the second best support on this list. Yeah. Oh, and just a quick reminder, for these Bravery runs, I am referring to like doing them in New Game Plus, which is why I'm talking about like light shifts, dark shifts, and I'm talking about having those from the beginning, because like having shifted monsters is great, and yeah, sure, you could probably say like, oh, that's cheating or whatever, but playing on Master Bravery difficult is so it's pretty tough that having access to one of the coolest mechanics in the game early is, I think, way too valid to pass up. Yeah. So, the Teneki. Yeah, this monster's cool. So why is he a support? He is a support. He could be a utility, sure. He's probably never going to be first slot. He would only mostly ever be second slot. But most of his utility is like unreal. Like, okay, so he gets Protector, great. He also has no weaknesses. As long as you're spamming neutral beating, he has no weaknesses, which is fantastic. I would say that the best type in the game is this type right here, just nothing. Just no resistances, no weaknesses. And when he attacks, he's spamming beating, which is also generating a lot of combo. He gets things like Empower. He gets Anti-Curse, which is cool. He gets Auto Restore, which is a great way to remove debuffs. He also gets Mass Restore, which is really cool. I mean, it's not really cool, but it's good. And he gets Smokescreen. So every time he's using Mass Restore, he's applying a stack of Blind on all monsters, which is pretty good. Like, Blind is 30% miss, 35% chance to miss, which is like on just one hit. So like it matters less on monsters that are hitting a bunch of times, but it matters a lot on like monsters like the Worm, which does the most damage in the game and can one-shot most monsters that don't have a fire resist on your team. You can almost safely guarantee that that monster will miss, because most of his moves are one hit, although he does have some multi-hits, but that monster is a run ender. But yeah, nonetheless, he gets Smokescreen, great. Master Sword, great. He gets critical healing. I don't think critical healing is super necessary because he doesn't have like critical boon like the cat did. So I wouldn't even probably take this skill. But he gets bolster, so every time he's healing, he's adding 1 buff on everybody. Great. He's getting augmenting shield. So augmenting shield plus healing shield is fantastic in the mid game because you're just spamming heals. You're applying shields. You're applying 2 shields on every monster at a 7.5% chance to apply a random debuff or to apply a random buff. Great. That is fantastic. And then outside of just doing that, he spams beating for like combo generating. So it's cool. I mean, it's good. And then in the late game, he gets mana shield, copy shield, but I don't think that really matters as much. Yeah, so really his job is just healing, remove debuffs, apply debuffs, and apply blind. And he has no weaknesses, which makes him very good. So, I actually think he's better than Rocky, because he basically does the same thing as Rocky. He doesn't do damage, but his job, and to a certain extent, neither is Rocky's primary job is to do damage. Rocky's primary job is to do the exact same thing as this guy's primary job. It's just that Rocky generates charge stacks on himself to then do damage later. Taniki applies buffs to the party, which is just better. It's just better. So yeah, the top of B tier right now. Who is next? Dodo. Okay, so Dodo is a little weird. Terrible typing, strong to wind, weak to water, is horrible. He's got a lot of HP, ton of HP. He's got double supply, so that's 2 heals in early game. Every heal that comes... Wait, no. Wait, where is it? Oh, right here. Every heal that comes from this monster has a 10% chance to apply sidekick, along with multi-sidekick, along with channel. So I probably wouldn't get this one, this buff, the whatever it's called Joust. I wouldn't get that. I would just skill channel and sidekick, spam that once. He gets combo buff early game, which is cool. So you spam that once, and then you're just hoping on supply to give extra stacks of sidekick. Plus this, which I'm pretty certain that this is affected by, this is essentially just a combo buff. So every time he applies a buff from like his supply, so like if he applies sidekick from his supply healings, this also, not only does it just apply more healing, but it also applies just another random buff, which is great, which is fantastic. And it's an aura, which means if anybody else has some similar mechanic, they also apply random buffs. Like this guy goes really well with the lion. A lot of monsters pair really well with the lion. Except for Target, who pairs really well with the eagle. Yeah. So, yeah, so after that, and then what's his secondary role? He just spams Sonic Wave for weakness. He doesn't get multi-weakness, which is sort of unfortunate. But, I mean, just spamming Sonic Wave is great. It's fantastic. Now, Bolster, Bolster, in the mid-game, Bolster does stack with auto heal. So, yeah, you get Bolster. So, Sonic Wave just applies a buff to whoever it applies 2 buffs to whoever it heals, which is fantastic. And then late game, you're looking at this, which is great. channeling balance for the late game, fantastic. Plus sensitivity, which can be nice. So yeah, I mean, so I just hyped him up, but at the end of the day, he's kind of just a better version of the Yowie, and like Yowie's down here at C tier. Now he's considerably better than Yowie, to the point where I think what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna move Yowie down to D tier and put Dodo top of C tier right now. Just, yeah. Like, he's not getting rid of... Oh, wait. Oh, I forgot to talk about his, Ooh, I forgot to talk about not only his curse, his shift, light dark shifts, but I also forgot to talk about Taniki's light dark shifts. So Taniki, real quick, we'll just backtrack and talk about Taniki's shifts. So Heroic Assault is kind of cool on Taniki, but I'm never a huge fan of Heroic Assault. Also, if you look at the stat spread, it gives him a bunch of attack and magic, which it's not really his job. I take Curse Resistance, adds bulk, adds mana, it's great. And it gives a 25% chance to resist the application of debuffs and harmful stacks. Yeah, so this is like something that is like kind of hard to notice, but it does happen. And it is pretty good. Like, it basically means that when somebody uses like something that puts bleed on you, you have a 1 in 4 chance to just not take the bleed stacks, which is fantastic for bleed. For debuffs, it doesn't matter as much, but it happens and you're always happy when it occurs, and you're always kind of grumpy when it doesn't occur. So, you know, it's whatever. I still take it. I think it's good. It's better than the other one. And then similar to Taniki, Dodo has Heroic Assault. Now Dodo is stacking a lot of buffs. So this can actually be worthwhile in Dodo's case, because of his ability to like combo buff, buff from his healing, passive healing abilities and stuff. And the other one is Cursebreaker, which is also fantastic because, like, as I said earlier, he has no way of getting rid of debuffs. Well, this is how he gets rid of debuffs. So, it's only one from every monster in the party, which isn't really anything, actually. It's good in the early game. It becomes useless in the late game because when monsters apply debuffs, they just pile them on. So you need like single target debuff remover. So like, yeah, not a huge fan of this one. In the early game, it's probably worth getting, but I usually just go with the Heroic Assault. Oddly enough, after saying it's not that good, but like when this guy's stacking like 10 buffs on everybody, like 5 to 10 buffs on everybody, adding 5 to 10% crit chance on everyone can be kind of nice. Right, so Ukon, you can. So this monster is super cool because he has a signature ability. He has the only... So a lot of monsters get signature abilities as auras, as like passive auras and stuff or whatever. This monster gets a signature attacking ability, and it's the only monster in the game to get that, to get one. So right away you're thinking, oh, so this monster must be a physical sweeper. Well, he kind of is. He does a lot of damage. He gets like all of those weird like precision, first hit of an ability does 20% increased chance. Critical liquid, so water attacks 10% increased chance. He's got pinch, which automatically applies armor break. And then he also has armor crush, which applies a 40% chance to just spread armor break when you apply it on one monster. It spreads to another monster, which is pretty cool, right? And then critical break plus multi armor break. So like he has a lot of ways of stacking armor break, which is not bad. I mean, it's a lot of extra damage. But he also gets shield. So so right away he's like a support because he's clicking shield and that's it. He's stacking defense, which is his highest stat to begin with, and he's clicking shield. And I have always thought this monster does better just because of the way his stats are built. He always performs better when as a support. He just is a support that gets a signature attacking ability that also does a decent amount of damage. Plus, in the mid game, you get Water Allegiance, which means he's doing water damage with his neutral attacks, and he ignores water resistance, which is it's fantastic. It's great. So this guy could be like critical. He could be built critically. And he gets critical healing, but it's not until the late game, so it doesn't really matter. But yeah, so I probably wouldn't even take critical mass. This is probably the few times where I would not take critical mass. I would take shield, protected offense, and then I would still take like multi-armor break and all of these just because you will fit times in where he can click pinch. But that's pretty much all he's clicking. Just pinch. Which is his signature skill. So he's the only monster that gets to click that move. And that's pretty cool. And that is basically his role. So, I mean, as a support, he's not great. He's probably worse than Dodo. But he is really cool in that he has a signature ability. Yeah, but he is one. Oh, okay, so I forgot to say. He is a monster that he's a shielder primarily. I don't know why I have Aqua Blast. Why I have Aqua Blast skilled here. He's a shielder, but he also is one of the few shielders, primary shielders, that also gets access to debuff removal in Restore, which is cool. Strong to water, weak to fire, that's pretty bad, I would say, for the most part. He gets Relentless, which is good, because his mana is bad. Relentless helps him just click shield and pinch. Right, mostly pinch, right, because it is more mana cost. His other shifted, I don't even know what it is. I think it's like Utopia or something. Oh no, it's Divine Shield. So whenever this monster receives a buff, he gains a shield equal to 1% of his maximum health and a charge stack. So this is actually decent if you were to nah, I don't think this is good. I don't think this is good enough because what happens is you run into mana problems, or you just have to build mana items on this guy because he's only getting like 1 extra bar of mana over this version, but this guy's getting 25% reduction in mana cost, which is just better, and he also gets more attack. And magic doesn't really matter, let's be honest. Like, magic doesn't matter. So, I think the Dark Shift is better. I would only have it. And I think it looks a little better. Whatever. Target we did S tier. Salahammer. So, again, this is like another version of a monster that could be utility. Because, like, in the early game, he probably isn't even getting used. He's like an example of a backup for your support from the mid-game onwards. And the reason is because he gets like combo buff, double combo buff, great. He gets buff mastery, great. He gets access to channel, great. It's pretty rare that you're gonna weave 2 buff actions in when you're a support and your primary job is to click shield. And as a support, this guy's main problem is that he doesn't have a lot of defense. So fortunately, Forge scales with your attack, not your defense. But defense is always a higher stat usually. And so like even in this guy's case, sure, base stats, his defense might be lower than his attack. But because being a support, you're gonna build him defensively anyway. So like as a shielding skill, I don't think Forge is as good as the other ones, but it does apply glory. And by applying glory, it's also applying 2 other random buffs in the mid game to his party. He also gets buff mastery, which is cool. And he also gets like critical buffs, so yeah, when he applies buffs, he has a chance of applying charge stacks, which is whatever. It's probably not even, but like, it might not even be worth taking that. I don't know. It depends on if you need charge stacks or not. It can be cool, it can be useless, whatever. But never mind, it is not useless because starting in the mid game, every time he's applying a buff, which is giving a chance of applying a charge stack based off his crit chance, which then gives every charge stack gives a 5% chance to then gain one of these random buffs, which then gives 2 more additional buffs because it's considered a buff action. That chain right there, that circular chain, which then applies more charge stacks, which then applies more buffs, which then applies more buffs, which then applies more charge. So it's so silly how if you get like 40 to 50% crit chance on this guy, how that circle just functions. Which is why you almost have to run buff mastery. It's not even worth looking at the other one. I think the other one is I think it's blacksmithing, which is just not even close to worth it. This guy stacks buffs so quickly that you need buff mastery. Otherwise, he is basically useless. Yeah. So in the mid game, he's a great way of stacking buffs while just clicking kind of a weak shield. He's a weak shield setter, but he's a great buff setter. So, you know, it's all right. But the main problem is this guy will die. Like anytime you have such a valuable reason to put crit chance on a monster, it's like, okay, let's put him for crit chance, even though he's only spamming shields. We still want that crit chance for that whole cycle that I just talked about. Yeah, he is not gonna last long. Also, he's weak to water, strong to fire, which can be nice sometimes, but it can be really bad. Yeah, I mean, his niche is cool. He has a cool niche. Like, he just stacks charge stacks, which apply buffs, which apply more charge stacks, which is cool. But he does no damage, and he is bad typing, and he will die pretty quickly. Like, if this is your replacement for if your shield setter died, and this is your only other option in your team, in your party, or in your monsters as a shield setter, the chances of him being the very next monster to die is so high, and then your run's over because your shield setter's gone. So yeah, it's pretty low, but he is cool. Like his ability to stack buffs and charge stacks are cool. So next we have Scorch. Scorch is cool. Again, possibly a utility monster, just based off of, well, it's not a shield setter. So right there alone, it's gonna be pretty difficult to set this monster super high. But let's check it out. So early game, we get charge start, which is cool. Well, first, actually, you know what? In this monster's case, let's take a look at its shifts first. Because I think it's important for how this monster functions. So this monster has slow burn and buff mastery. So right away you're thinking, oh, wait a minute, hang on a second. So every time you've had buff mastery on a monster, you've taken it. Yeah, that's true. Buff mastery is extremely powerful. And then slow burn. So I always tend towards slow burn, which means that they don't lose charge. They lose a third of the charge stacks when they use a skill that consume charge stacks, rather than consuming all of them, which is cool. I prefer that. As to why, let's find out. So right away he has critical edge. So he's a monster that wants crit chance, right? Okay. And here it is. Critical healing. So if you build like, let's say 30 to 40% crit chance on this monster, you're getting charge stacks on yourself, which is nice because you have the option of every so often. He also has hexing support, which is great. So he, just by healing and removing debuffs on monsters, he's generating charge stacks on himself, and he's applying a random debuff on another monster. And wait, no, this isn't that good. Critical buffs is not that good because he's not really a great buff setter. He's more of just a healer, debuff remover, debuff applier, and then that's pretty much a healer. And then when he has enough charge stacks, he can turn around and use a powerful skill. And he doesn't lose charge stacks, which is sick. But what's really sick is that this monster, so at mid-game point, this monster's healing actions are affected by charge stacks, as if they were attacks. Which means he's getting bonkers amount of healing addition. Like he's getting, like let's say, like from the very beginning, he's getting plus 21% healing on his healing actions, which is substantial. Plus he's gaining charges. He actually ends up gaining more charges than what he's using up because he has slow burn. So he's gaining them slower. And sometimes if you want him to just be a healer and a debuff remover, it's worth not taking this skill, because maybe you don't need the extra healing, and he can just generate more charge stacks on himself by healing, and then turn around and hit for bigger damage when he needs to hit. So yeah, actually this monster is very much so a utility monster. Again, I might have misplayed. It's just there's so many utility monsters that sometimes I like to just apply, just slot one of the utility monsters into the support role because it seems fitting. So he can click sustain, which is whatever, it's a buff. Oh, never mind. I'm dumb. I forgot he has this. So he has critical healing plus critical boon, which basically just means that he is up there on par, not quite as good as the cat, but he's up there with the cat as far as utility provided for the team. Only difference to the cat is that he gets hexing support, and then he gets, at mid game, he gets cleansing burn and multi-burn, which is such a good way to remove buffs from targets. Cleansing burn is so good. Like, you're just passively just removing buffs from the target once their turn starts, which is fantastic. So this guy performs really well with someone with like a bulky burn setter. So in other words, the Steam Golem, he does really well if you happen to get him as your second slot support after your Steam Golem, and then you just have one monster doing damage, and he will have opportunities to do damage after he just buffs everyone. So yeah, so actually critical buffs is good. So you're just adding charge stacks on top of the buffs that you're adding by healing. So yeah, this monster's great. The only problem is he doesn't apply buffs on himself. So what does end up happening is the AI will target, they do tend to target the monsters that don't have a lot of buffs. And if they happen to gain momentum and get a lot of buffs, he will die. He will get dropped pretty quick. But that being said, his HP pool is so high that he doesn't usually die very quickly, I find. His typing is terrible. He's strong to earth, weak to fire, which doesn't really make sense to me, but I mean, he's a dragon and he's weak to fire, but whatever. And his name is Scorch, but he's weak to fire. Yeah, I don't get it. But he is very good at filling that job of applying buffs to teammates and charge stacks to teammates. And unlike the Caraglow, the cat, he can then do damage, big damage, if the battle goes long enough and he gets enough charge stacks. So the next one is the Polter Often. So real quick, I'm just gonna say that this monster, as a wild encounter or as a boss, this monster can be so dangerous to the point where if this is if there's an encounter where there's 3 of these and you are past like level 15, you have to skip it. Do not take it, you do not win. Because the thing you have to remember is even though you're level 15, this guy has access to his entire skill tree, which means 1, he has shelter, which means you're doing basically no damage to him when he has a shield, and he always has a shield because he has double transfusion, and then he has that shielding skill, which a healing shield. So the amount that he's healing, he just gets in shield. Plus he gets multi-burn, plus burning heat, plus burning desire. So it just, every time it's your turn, his shield is like almost back to full. You don't damage it enough. Plus you're usually trying to single target one, which means the other 2 are just full shield. And then when it's time for him to do damage, he has this volatile shield, which means he just one-shots someone on your team. This is among the worm and anybody else that has great shield generation plus volatile shield are immediately do not take the encounters, skip the encounters, you will lose monsters. And then when this is a boss, it actually isn't as dangerous because it's only one monster, and you can make sure that he does not have a lot of shield when it's his turn, so that he gets to use this skill. Because this skill only applies when he has shield. Problem is, when there's 3 of them, 2 of them are always, 2 or at least one of them will always have a high shield, and they will do so much damage to someone on your team. It's so dangerous. But we're not talking about when he's on the other when you're fighting against him. We're talking about if you get him on your team. So on your team, he basically doesn't do a whole lot early game. I mean, he has multi-burn and he has way of applying burn. So like, that's cool, right? And he has like overcast. So this is like immediately you want him to be constantly like have huge mana regeneration, and then because of that he gets a lot of heal, which is cool. And he has like passive ways of stacking charge, which is cool. But really where this monster comes online is mid game, when he gets burning or fire shield. Boom, fire shield, that's it. He just clicks fire shield. You've got multi-burn aura. He's got burning desire. He's got great sustain, ways of staying alive. Like, despite being weak to water and strong to fire, which I constantly say is bad, it doesn't really matter in this monster's case, because you can make him bulky enough, and his shield is always massive to withstand a water attack, or sometimes even 2. And then he just heals up right back to full, and he gets so much shield when he heals. This monster is broken. Now, volatile shield, unfortunately, it doesn't work. It's not very good when you utilize it. Now, this is late game anyway, so it doesn't really matter. But when you utilize volatile shield, it does almost no damage to monsters, because it's based off of the value of your shield. Now, that value is always hidden. There's no way to know what that value is. But I am very confident that when wild encounters have shields, it's almost based off of either your HP or your mana or your defense or something. Because their shields are massive. Because when they hit you and they have full shield, they one-shot you through your shield. You're just gone. But when you do this and you have a full shield, you don't do that much damage. So I don't really know how to explain that. All I know is that this volatile shield is an incredibly dangerous ability when it's on the enemy, especially wild encounter enemies. Not so much keeper battles, it's not that scary. But it's very scary when it's on monsters that have massive HP pools and massive shields. So yeah, that's basically it. This monster is basically a debuff setter in the early game, and he's an excellent shield setter. And, well, I mean, I say excellent, actually he's not that excellent. Like, he's got 8 defense stats. He has ways of like applying burn. Just multi-burn makes him useful. He's got great staying power. He's got double overcast, which is fantastic on a monster where you're gonna have a lot of regen on, because it makes his shields really strong. And he has hot to the touch, which is nice, but that's late game, so it doesn't matter. So yeah, already I'm leaning towards, this is a pretty mid pick. Utopia is cool. Blacksmithing I think is better, usually on a supporting monster. Now it's funny because on the last example, so Kami has the same shift abilities. He's got blacksmithing and Utopia, and I said that Utopia was better on Kamehameha. But now I'm saying blacksmithing is better on this monster? What? Yeah, I actually don't have an answer for that. So this is an example of one where, yeah, I'm really unsure. So he has great ways of generating charge stacks, but like he doesn't have leadership. And I guess he can at some point do big damage, so maybe Utopia is better. But I think giving 15% extra crit chance, health defense, mana and mana regen, and crit damage, like those are pretty substantial stats. But I mean, either, it doesn't matter. You can pick either. It doesn't matter. Okay, so we are chewing through these pretty quick. Oh wait, we gotta place him. So Polteroffen is decent. He's not great as a shield setter. He doesn't really provide a whole lot. And because he doesn't become a shield setter until the mid game, which is essentially halfway through the game, he's not really doing his job until the back half of the game. So yeah, I don't know. Okay, so the next one is Goblin Pilot. Goblin Pilot is so weird because this is a monster where he's like kind of useless. He's pretty useless unless you have him paired with like Targo or no, like some monster that has a great way to apply charge stacks. I mean, he can generate charge stacks himself, but again, in the early game, he's basically just a physical damage dealer. Oh, he has shield. Never mind. Okay, so you can build him as shield. So, yeah, no, this monster's fantastic. So, he's just clicking shield early game until mid game, and then he's clicking fire shield. But the reason this monster is so good is because he gets meditation, fantastic. He gets charged up while also having a great way of just applying charge stacks to himself because he's got mana charging. So generally he's getting like 4 charge stacks from that per turn. He's got meditation, so he's getting 10 charge stacks per turn himself. Plus he's got this goblin science thing, so that's 12 charge stacks per turn. Which is pretty good. His other shift ability is debuff mastery, which I don't think is very good in this monster's case, because mainly this monster is a shielder, and then from the mid-game point onwards, he gets access to this, which is really cool. Supercharged. So basically, based off of the math that I just gave, where he's getting essentially like 12 charge stacks every turn, every other turn, he has the option to then turn around and do a big magic attack hit with this terrible magic stat, but that doesn't matter because Supercharged just gives 100% of his attack stat to his magic, which is fantastic. So it's weird because he's basically just a shield setter and then a magic attacker. And this monster in the mid to late game is great. And in the early game, he's just a standard shield setter, which is great. And he also gets critical base, which I think is so good because, like, it just means that you're getting free crit chance on, and you could just build full. Like, this guy has an incredibly high defense stat, so his shields are big. and then plus with all of his charge stacks that he's getting, plus supercharged, he's doing big magic attack. He's got a single target magic attack, and he's got a multi-target magic attack. And I know I said multi-target skills are bad, which they are, in master difficulty. When you have charged up plus supercharged, so that this is 15%, capped at 15% extra damage. This just gives him crazy magic damage. Plus the additional charge stacks on top of that. He does big damage. Even multi-target, I've seen him clear out. Like, he's just wiped entire shields off of monsters. And that's when he went first, because he's usually first slot. If you then turn around and let him go last, he can do big damage. He can do big damage. I think he performed incredibly well. I'm putting him A tier. In fact, I'm even tempted to put him top of A tier. The only issue I have with this monster is that he has 2 weaknesses, which are, like, 2 resistances don't really matter. It's cool. Having 2 weaknesses is always such a problem. Like water weakness. It's not as bad as the worm. The worm is weak to water and fire, but it's still double weaknesses. It gets taken advantage of, and it is probably the reason why he's going to stay at the bottom of A tier. But offensively, he's the best monster on this list. Like, yeah, no, he does the most damage out of any monster on this list. But again, this is a list where monsters aren't really meant to do damage. But it's still cool. And he's still very good. And he functions very well. So the next monster is Rathops. So this is really weird because this monster only does attacks, right? So early game he's just doing attacks, but I think the reason I like this monster so much is because from the mid game on, so he gets revenge at mid game, which is cool. He also gets critical defense, which is cool from the mid game. Because this monster, he gets full protect, which is kind of cool. It's a little bit better than protect, which I kind of think protect isn't that good. Full protect is just a little bit better. Shield is still better. He gets weakening shield. Weakness is fantastic. Probably in a master run, weakness is, I would say, the best debuff to apply, probably, besides chill, because they just do less damage, which is great. So a lot of this monster should be built, so ignore the fact that I have all of his multi-damage skills. I do not know why I have those. This monster will definitely still... This monster's cool because he has access to every element, right? He's got wind, he's got earth, he's got fire, he's got water. And his typing is pretty good. Like, being weak to wind, but being strong to water, I'll take that any day. That's great. Debuff variety is pretty cool. His other shift is debuff mastery, which is less cool. Well, I guess you can apply double weakness, which is fine, I guess. That's cool. So the reason I kind of like this setup with like double critical defense is because you're like a support, we got to worry. So let's talk about equipment. We don't really talk about equipment because it's pretty obvious. Most of these guys just build defense. But this guy's an exception because you can put this this on him. Thorn Tendril, which adds crit damage, but it adds... So when he gets attacked, he adds a bleed stack on the attacker equal to, I think at the beginning it's like 200, maybe 300 from level 1 onwards. A substantial amount of this monster's crit damage. So right away, so this, it's level 5, it does 500% of this monster's crit damage. This monster is sitting on, I don't know why it's sitting on 125% crit damage. It must have a lot of base crit damage. Let's check that out. So yeah, crit damage, crit damage, crit damage. Okay, so it gets a lot of base crit damage. And then you can also add like crit damage. Like you could add a belt, which gives defense and crit damage. Unfortunately, belts generally never get used, so I do not have a belt. Here we go, belt. Oh my god. It's my mouse. I'm clearly horrible with the mouse. I prefer controller with this game. So defense, crit damage, great. He's a tank. Okay, and he's actually a tank that utilizes crit damage. And then just whatever else. You could throw like just anything that gives crit damage, but he does need mana, right? So he needs mana and mana regen. That's most important. But you can stack crit damage. Cool, great. He makes great use of it. But what's fantastic about this monster as a support is that he gets predation. When this monster spends a turn without attacking, he gets 20% increased crit chance on his next attack. Not his next hit, his next full attack. And it reduces their dodge chance by 10%, which is whatever. So you don't need to worry about crit chance. So if he's at base 15% crit chance, because he gets one 5% crit chance skill. So you do weakening shield, great, give the team a shield. And then if he can fit an attack in, he can then do a 35% crit chance single target attack, preferably, that applies, I mean, it's going to apply some debuff, right? He's got armor shred, he's got kindle, he's got cooling. You're going to put a debuff on something. And you're almost always going to, whatever the target is weak to, you're going to hit it with whatever it's weak to, unless it's weak to neutral, but that's pretty rare. So the chances of him, or unless they're weak to magic, the chances of him having a weakness on something are so high that earlier I said he's hitting with 35% chance. He's actually hitting with 45% chance. So he's applying more bleed stacks and just whatever. It's cool. The problem is suddenly he's becoming a monster that isn't able to apply shield every turn, which is probably likely what he's going to be meant to do. He can function as a utility monster that clicks shield once, then clicks attack, then clicks shield, then clicks attack. He functions better as a utility monster in that regard, like a slot 2 shield setter attacker. So in that regard, he's probably pretty high, but in the sense of being a pure support, he's not very good, actually, despite all that hype. He's probably... Also, the thing is, he only gets to be a support for the back half of the game, right? So that's already going to set him pretty low. So he's going to be probably above Salamander, Salahammer. Yeah, he'll be like here, probably. Yeah, that seems about right. Crack-a-turtle. So we only got 4 left, so I'm just trying to blast through these real quick. Cracker Turtle is a guaranteed encounter. He's actually guaranteed at the end of the Golden Temple. So when you normally get the koi fish, you get Cracker Turtle, probably because he kills 2 birds. Like he kill. So they're really all you need is a swimmer. But instead they give you a monster that gives you tar mobility, water mobility, and the better flying mobility. So I guess he's the only monster that gives you the most overworld abilities, which is probably why he's a guaranteed encounter. But either way, he's a support through and through. If you don't get him earlier, you will get him at the start of the mid game. He's a pure support. He's got fire shield. He's got a great buff in the sense of he gets life channel, so regeneration and channel, plus multi regeneration, plus remunerate, plus shared regeneration. So every time he's clicking fire shield, he's got a chance of giving regeneration to himself. Every time he gives regeneration to himself, he gives it to someone else. He also has multi regeneration. Plus, if he weaves in life channel, if he can weave this buff in, it's channel, which is fantastic. Plus hot to the touch, so he can actually generate. He can get regeneration just by getting hit. So that's not even the worst of it, or the best of it. This monster is, so first of all, just looking at his stats, his defense is so high that he gets cool moves. He also gets a signature attack. So I said the crab was the only one. I think he is also another one. I don't think there's another monster that gets Scald. There might be though, so maybe this isn't a signature move. There might be another monster that gets Scald, yeah. This monster is strong to fire. Great thing to be strong to. And he's weak to debuffs, which I think is fantastic, because it basically means he has no debuff, he has no weaknesses, as long as you have a monster, like your slot 2 monster is a monster that can remove debuffs. So like him paired with like Caraglow the cat, great. Plus he gets regeneration shield. So another thing this monster pairs really well with is monsters that have access to early restoration. And there is only one monster in the game that gets access to early restoration, and it's this guy right here. So if you have him as a slot 2, as like a utility slot, he will show up in the next episode for utility monsters. He is the only monster in the game that gets access to early level 10 restoration, plus multi regeneration, plus the other guy had multi regeneration. So that means when all of the monsters on your team have 5 regenerations, you are not, debuffs just do not stick on you, because every time you get a regeneration proc, 50% chance to remove a debuff. I mean, debuffs just don't stick around for very long. So yeah, so that's only one pair alone, right? So that's not it's not super likely that you'll have Ninki Naka to pair with him. But any way of removing debuffs, and suddenly this monster is an S tier. He's S tier. I'm wondering if he's gonna be above the other ones. Probably not, because the other ones do other things besides just shielding. Like, he does no damage, and he has no way of doing damage. Magma Pillar generates charge stacks, which it can then do big damage with. Targo generates a massive amount of charge stacks, and it also shares the charge stacks, which is great. And then, let's see, why is he the best? Well, he's the best because he has the highest defense stat, but he also has Cleanse, and Cleanse is just too valuable. So that's why he's at the bottom of the S tier. And honestly, he might even be top of A tier. I'm not entirely sure. But yeah. So last three, because I'm getting sick of this. Bard. So Bard is mainly a support, let's be honest. Like, his skills are just not good enough to do damage. Yeah. He has weakening shield. So cool. So he can function as, like, mid game to late game. He can function as a legitimately pure support. I am a fan of the typing, similar to the wolf, strong to wind, weak to earth. I'm a fan of that, sort of. He doesn't get critical healing, unfortunately. He does get bolster plus Minasang. Minasang is cool because it removes harmful stacks, which can be good. He gets, like, this is a cool monster because you want to stack instruments, right? You want this monster to be holding 4 instruments, which usually look something like this. So he's going to have a war horn as his weapon, which is, I should have had this already set up, so that is my bad. So Warhorn, and it says bottom right, it's an instrument. Cool. And then if we right click, no, I don't actually know how to, so that's sorting items. Wait, hang on. So I usually use controller, so I'm not sure how to search for items when I'm on a keyboard. Because on controller you just press X and you can choose what you want to look at and you click utility. But here I've got no idea, so whatever. But whatever. Instruments, right? So there was a drum. I saw a drum. You stick a drum on him, it gives him defense, great. There's an ocarina, which gives him some mana regen. A tambourine, cool. Ocarina, mana regen, that's crucial. And then just whatever. I don't think there's any more instruments that give mana regen. So unfortunately, his other one is gonna have to be like a tambourine because it gives him health. So it gives him a little bit of tankiness. The crit chance doesn't matter. And it gives him healing skills. So this gives him healing and shielding skills, which is more important. This one gives him healing skills, which is cool. And then this one lets him... So every time he clicks a shield, he also heals a monster, which is also cool. Because he gets access, he gets bolster. So any like single target heal, it just gives him 2 buffs. So he has great ways of applying buffs. He has great multi-buff auras, multi-might, multi-glory. He gets Glorious Spark, which is fantastic. Multi-weakness, which is fantastic. And with 4 instruments equipped, he's getting plus 40% shielding. His shielding becomes nuts. Like, he probably is the best shielder in the game with this skill. And then he gets support cord, so yeah, it's kind of like the combo buffing, sort of. It's a 20 with 4 instruments. It's a 20% chance to apply another random buff, and he applies a lot of buffs because of just how he functions. Right, he can click menacing for just a ton of buffs, or he can click this for not a lot of buffs. And then he has 20% damage reduction, which ends up being something like between 10 and 15 when he's a support. Actually, it ends up being something like between 5 and 10 because his defense is already usually built to be super high anyways. So I mean, he's really good, right? Let's look at what his shifts are. He has Shadow Proc, which it just adds another heal or another shield, which is cool. I mean, that's pretty cool. Or he has Switch Stone, Curse Breaker, which again, yeah, that's really good. Curse Breaker is always really good, which is also, I forgot to mention it, but Curse Breaker is what this guy has, which is good. It's less good in the late game, but it helps. It's nice. This guy is also capable of using Debuff Mastery, which is his other one, but like, it doesn't really matter. They're both good. Same with this guy. Both are good. So it doesn't really matter what you choose. Alright, so now we gotta put him in. So after all that, he is technically the most powerful shield setter with four instruments. His only issue is that, I don't know if you noticed, but with 4 instruments, his mana regen is always behind. He never has enough mana to spam Weakening Shield at level 20 constantly. So that's the only reason why I'm gonna put him bottom of A tier, or even top of B tier. He is always behind on mana. It is always a struggle. Also, he really, in the early game, his healing skill heals so much that I almost think that Overheal would be a nicer ability on him, because with 4 instruments, this guy heals like 2 HP bars. It's crazy. But he doesn't have Overheal, so it's whatever. Okay, King Blob. King Blob is like a healing support. He has access to Restore, which is fantastic. He's got a buff, which is cool. But so King Blob on his own, he's kind of just generic, right? Like early game, he clicks a buff, he gets a combo buff, he has multi-regen, he's restoring someone, and sometimes he can weave in a multi-target attack for debuffs. That's probably all he's going to be used for. And he gets remunerated, which is whatever. But what makes this monster incredible is his 2 abilities. He gets Debuff Mastery, which is whatever. But he also gets Mass Mystify, which is an aura. So it applies for other monsters as well. So on a debuff team, King Blob functions superbly as a support, because he's got like Warlock healing in the mid game, restoring. We're not super concerned with this row. I mean, his power budget is pretty late game oriented, sort of. Like, Trickster is fantastic. The Bolster is great on this guy because he is mostly healing. Purify is great. Like, unfortunately, he does have a massive power budget in the late game, which is not what we like to see for a playthrough. But he gets like triple health proc, so this is doing not 2 lines of damage, but it's doing 5 lines of damage from at the mid game point. He's got auto heal, buff, combo buff, and then he has ways of just removing debuffs, which is cool. So this guy functions really well on a debuff team. Again, this is a random Bravery mode run. We cannot rely on getting a debuff team. It's just too unlikely. So unfortunately, he's great. Like, his HP pool is super high, which means his life waves are doing a ton of healing. He also has access to restore. But unfortunately, he is very reliant on somebody on your team applying debuffs, which is pretty likely, right? But what you really want with this guy is you want multiple people with multiple debuff auras. So like, you want someone with multi-burn. So he would function really well if he was paired with like the Steam Golem, who has multi-burn early, and then you have King Blood slot 2 for debuff removals and applying poison, and then your third team member is like someone that can apply a lot of debuffs, so not a Spectral Familiar in this case, unfortunately, even though that's a guaranteed encounter. Someone, like anyone that can just apply like multi-weakness or multi-poison or whatever early, and actually has good ways of applying that. Then suddenly your whole team is getting buffed because of Mass Mystify. So if you just have ways of applying a lot of debuffs, like if he's on a debuff team, he does fantastic. Unfortunately, outside of that, he's just your standard debuff remover. He's super bulky, and he essentially, I forgot to mention this, he doesn't have a weakness. Like, his weakness is to debuffs, which, when you have a great way of removing debuffs, it's kind of like not having a weakness. And he's strong to water, which is great. And his HP pool is just dumb. His HP pool is stupid. So I really am not sure where to put him, because like, let's see, who is he similar to here? Kind of like Caraglow, except unlike Caraglow, who can actively apply buffs, he passively applies buffs. So he does function similar to Caraglow. His typing is better. His buff setting is worse, which is more important. He's kind of like Tanaki, really. Sort of. Yeah, I guess he's like a worse version of Tanaki, because Tanaki can apply blind, which can be very powerful. And Tanaki has a better way of applying buffs. Unless you're just on a harsh debuff setting team, in which case then he's better, but you can't rely on getting a debuff team. And now we were on our last monster, Diavola, who in the early game, his only support capabilities are Restoring Shield, which is pretty good. Restoring Shield is a great way to get rid of debuffs. He also gets Thorns, and I'm not going to re-explain it. He's very similar to how the Rathops, the Triceratops functions. in the sense that you want to build him crit damage because he takes advantage. Oh wait, does he? Oh wait. No, he actually does not get access to critical defense. I thought he did, but oh, he does. Yeah. So in the mid game onwards, which is when his supporting capabilities really take off with weakening shield, you're gonna build him the same way you build Triceratops: defense, crit damage, mana regen, and you put that thorn tendril thing on him, and he just does a lot of damage without actually needing to click attacks. He also gets predation, right? So he can click shield, and then click an attack. Now, he's not as good as Triceratops. One, because his defense isn't high, his bulk isn't as high. His attack is higher, but that doesn't matter as much. And his typing is worse. He's weak to fire, which can be a problem. But he does get Mass Mystify, which is cool. It's unlike Triceratops. He passively has a way to buff teammates. So, all in all, I'm actually going to slot him right next to Triceratops. He's probably, I mean, he's a damage dealer, right? But he's also a support. So, that's it. That's the tier list for all of the supports, and some of these aren't really supports. Like Glowfly got kind of poor treatment, although Glowfly's not that good anyways, so even in the next utility section, Glowfly probably will probably get slotted exactly the same. So yeah, that's the list. Next episode will be utility. No, I'm gonna do carries next because it's more fun and it's easier to talk about. Utility is gonna be complicated because it just basically includes everything. And I will just do the monsters that are not carries and not pure supports. So it'll also help me kind of pick what's left out of the monsters that have not been done yet. But carries is fun. We get to do the damage dealers next, so that'll be cool. So yeah, let me know. Oh, right, real quick, I'll just go over. I mean, Steam Golem is through and through your best pure support. You are happy if you get him. He's got high defense and great shielding. Targoat, same situation, just better at sharing charge stacks, which just adds damage to your team while shielding your team, which is great. And then Magma Pillar is probably the next best, along with Frosty. Frosty because it's Ice Shield in the mid to late game, which I mean, it's good. It's a good shield. And it's different, right? Most of these are applying burns. Like almost every single one of these monsters applies burns. Except for Frosty, who is the only one of these who has Ice Shield. And you're wondering, wait, aren't there a lot of Ice Shield setters? Yeah, they are, and they're going to be in the utility. Like Ice Slime is going to be in the utility section because in the early game, for 50% of the game, he has no shielding access. So he doesn't become a support until 20. Where these monsters, either through buffing or through just being useless and won't be getting used, are supports. Yeah. So that's it. All right. Thank you very much for tuning in on that entire episode. Hopefully I was trying to be quicker. Hopefully it wasn't as cringe. Let's look and see how long that was. Oh, we can't see it. All right. Peace. See you next episode.